Welcome, dear students. Myself is Dr. T. Nasimaya, qualified with MCom, MPhil and PhD. I am serving in this SCC institution from last 15 years, and my total service in the field of teaching is 34 years. In this semester for you, I am going to handle the subject financial accounting. It is prescribed by the Bangalore North University for first semester. In the first semester, the serial number of the subject is 3. The basic objective of this subject is to bring the knowledge of concepts, conventions, and accounting standards and their application. There is a practical application of those concepts, conventions, and accounting standards practically in the field of accounting. Let us see what is the syllabus prescribed by the Bangalore North University under the title of Financial Accounting for the first semester of BNA. The syllabus of the first semester accounting consists totally 5 units. The first unit is Introduction into Financial Accounting. The second unit is Conversion of Single Entry into Double Entry System. The third unit is Hire Purchase System. Fourth unit is Royalty Account. And finally, the fifth unit is Conversion of Partnership Firm into a Limited Company. In the first unit, that is in the first chapter, we are going to study about the Introduction into Financial Accounting. It is already studied in the first PUC itself. The same one is brought here just to bring the knowledge of, the basic knowledge of accounting to the students. This unit contains meaning and definition, objectives of accounting, functions of accounting, and the people who are going to make use of the accounting information, limitations of accounting, accounting principles, that is, concepts and conventions of accounting, and accounting standards. In respect of accounting standards, just we are going to learn about the list of accounting standards which are applicable in India. So, this is the subject matter what we are going to study in respect of the financial accounting, that is meaning and definition, objectives, functions, users of accounting, limitations of accounting, accounting principles, as well as concepts, conventions, and accounting standards. The second unit of the syllabus is Conversion of Single Entry into Double Entry System. As you are aware of the single entry system in the second year PUC, where we are going to record only one aspect of the transaction. Okay, it is a crude method. In respect of certain transactions, we are recording only one aspect, that is either debit entry or credit entry. In respect of certain transactions, we are going to record both debit and credit parts of the transaction. But in respect of certain transactions, none of the parts are recorded. So, under single entry system, ascertainment of accurate profit or loss is not possible. So, therefore, whenever the traders or business people desired to convert their books of accounts which are maintained under single entry system into double entry system, what is the accounting procedure they need to follow? How the books which are already maintained under single entry system need to be converted into double entry system. Okay, so what is the accounting procedure applicable thereon is to be studied under this chapter. Here we won't write any books of accounts, no journal entries, no ledger accounts. Okay, only the books of accounts which are maintained under the single entry system has to be converted into double entry system. So the conversion of single entry into double entry system implies the following accounting procedure. Okay, so here we are going to study meaning of single entry system, features, advantages, disadvantages, and types conversion into double entry system. That is the types of conversion into double entry system, need for conversion, preparation of statement of affairs, cash book, memorandum trading account, total debtors account, total creditors account, bills receivable account, bills payable account, and finally, to ascertain the exact profit or loss, we are going to prepare the trading and profit and loss account. Trading and profit and loss account. It is to be prepared under double entry system, whereas under single entry system, to ascertain the profit or loss, we are going to prepare the statement of profit or loss. Single entry system, statement of profit or loss, whereas in the double entry system, we are going to prepare the profit and loss account. Even to know the exact financial position of the business, we are going to prepare the balance sheet. Balance sheet is prepared under double entry system, but statement of affairs is prepared under single entry system. So, what is the purpose of conversion of single entry into double entry? First of all, we need to prepare the statement of affairs. That is both the opening statement of affairs as well as the closing statement of affairs if it is required. In addition to that one, there is a need of preparation of the cash book, memorandum trading account, total debtors account, total creditors account. In respect of the debtors, connected is bills receivable account. To the creditors, the connected is bills payable account. After the preparation of these preliminaries, finally we are going to prepare the trading and the P&L account as well as the balance sheet. That is the subject what we are going to learn under the second unit called conversion of single entry into double entry system. That is, the books which were maintained under single entry system is to be converted into double entry system to find out the accurate profit or loss by preparing the trading and profit and loss account, and also to ascertain the financial position by preparing the balance sheet. Next, the third chapter or the third unit prescribed for you is hire purchase system and installment purchase system. Hire purchase and installment purchase, and both are clubbed together in this chapter. So hire purchase in the sense, purchase is nothing but taking of required goods and services from others by payment of consideration. That a consideration is nothing but the purchase price to the purchaser, sales price to the seller. So in case of purchases, there are two types of purchases basically called cash purchases and credit purchases. Cash purchases in the sense, a cash purchase is a transaction where the purchase consideration is to be settled on the spot. Whenever we are going to purchase, whenever we are going to take up the purchased goods from the seller, on the spot or at the same time, you have to pay the price to the seller. Such a kind of a transaction are to be called as cash transactions. Cash transactions are those where the purchase consideration or the purchase price is to be paid off immediately at the time of taking the possession of the goods. Okay, that is in case of credit purchase, what will happen? And in the credit purchases, the goods are delivered by the seller to the buyer. Means the buyer is going to take the goods and at the time of entering into an agreement. That is at the time of purchase. But the purchase price is to be paid after the date of purchase. Means paid later. Means up to 3 months of time will be given in case of credit transactions as per the credit procedure. Okay, so in case of credit transactions are those where physical delivery of goods are to be taken over by the purchaser, but the purchase price will be payable in a future date. The date which is to be fixed for the payment of that purchase price is to be called as a maturity date or due date. So, in respect of these credit transactions, they are very beneficial to the purchaser because even without paying a single NP, the goods are to be taken over by the purchaser and they are to be sold immediately, and he is going to retain that amount for a meanwhile, that is up to the due date or maturity date, but they are inconvenient to the seller. So therefore, to equalize the benefits both to the buyer and the seller, a different model of credit transactions are brought into picture. They are nothing but the hire purchase system and installment purchase system. In both the cases, what will happen? Like a credit transaction, the physical delivery of goods to be taken over by the purchaser, and the purchase price cannot be payable on the last date, that is the due date or maturity date. That the purchase price is payable at a regular interval at a smaller parts of amount. Means the purchase price is to be divided into several parts, and each part is to be payable at a regular interval. the amount of that is the part of amount which is to be payable at a regular interval is to be called as installment. Okay. So both in case of in a purchase hire purchase system as well as in the installment purchase system, the purchase price is to be payable by the credit purchaser in installment. That a method of accounting is to be called as a hire purchase system or installment purchase system. So here, what we are going to learn in respect of this hire purchase or installment purchase system, how the accounting entries is to be passed in the books of both the hire purchaser and hire seller. So here we are going to learn the journal entry, preparation of ledger also in respect of this hire purchase system and installment purchase system in the books of both the hire purchaser and hire seller. Okay, so here journal entry and ledger accounts we are going to learn. So basically the topics are the contents prescribed by the university in respect of this hire purchase system is, it is meaning of hire purchase and installment purchase system. Of course, the title is given in respect of only hire purchase system, but here we are to study both hire purchase system as well as installment purchase system. Okay, so meaning of both hire purchase and installment purchase system, difference between hire purchase and installment purchase system. Of course, they are the sub methods of credit transactions. Even though they are the sub methods of credit transactions, there is a little differences between these two methods as per the law. So the legal differences are there between the hire purchase system and installment purchase system. And important definitions: hire purchase agreement, hire purchase price, cash price, hire purchase charges, net hire purchase price, net cash price, calculation of interest, calculation of cash price, journal entry, and ledger accounts in the books of purchaser and hire vendor, that is asset appraisal method only. So even in the respect of maintenance of books of assets, books of accounts, in respect of the hire purchase system and installment purchase system, there are several methods of accounting. Among all those methods of accounting, you are prescribed to study only asset accrual method. Okay, so this is the subject background related to hire purchase system. Next, royalty accounts is the fourth chapter. Here, royalty is nothing but a rent. Usually, even in case of our daily transaction, whenever a person is having number of houses, in one house he may live his family along with his family, and the remaining houses are to be given on a rental basis. Okay. Likely, there are certain rights of person. Keep in mind, this topic is not related to leasing the house property or renting the house properties. It is related to renting of special rights of person. Example, the landlord or the authors of writing the textbooks. Likely, there are that is even that is leasing or renting of intangible assets like trademarks and copyright. Okay, here some rights are acquired by a person under law called as a special rights. Those special rights, the use of those special rights are to be given by the legal owner to some other. A person who is going to give his right for use by the other, that a giver is to be called as a landlord, that is the owner. And a person who is going to make use those rights, or in other words, a person who is going to take those rights for his own usage is to be called as a lessee, lessor and lessee. Okay. So, in this chapter, example, there is a certain minerals or certain crude oils are available in a land, that is inside the land, and taking of those minerals or crude oils may not be possible to the landlord because of lack of technical knowledge and lack of financial position. Therefore, under those circumstances, the land where such a kind of valuable minerals are available, those lands are to be given on lease by the owner of the land to some other industrialist, that is who are capable to extract the oil or minerals from the land. Okay, so likely some author may be there using by his own knowledge, he is going to prepare the drafts of the textbook, but printing and sale of the textbook may not be possible to the author because of lack of marketing skills or lack of time or lack of financial capability. Then the printing of that book is to be given by the author to one of the publisher. Here, author is the owner. Publisher, that is a person who is going to print that book and sell in the market. That fellow is called a lessee. That is the tenant. Okay. So, likely here, in respect of such a kind of a use of a special right or leasing and use of special rights is studied under the royalty account. Even in case of royalty accounts, we are going to learn about the journal entries in the books of both the owner of the asset and user of the asset. Preparation of the ledgers in the books of both the parties is to be learned under the topic particular royalty account. Royalty accounts applicable to leasing of special rights by a person to another. A person who is going to lease out, a person who is giving the right on lease is to be called as a landlord or owner. And the person who is going to take such a special right for his own is to be called as a tenant. Okay. So, in respect of this topic, we are going to study meaning and definition, technical terms used under the royalty account, meaning of royalty, landlord, tenant, minimum rent, short working, recoupment of short working under fixed period, or restrictive and non-restrictive floating period, recoupment within the lifetime of the lease. So, here, what do you mean by landlord? What do you mean by royalty? Nothing but a rent. Landlord, owner of the right. Tenant, user of the right. Minimum rent, minimum amount that is to be payable by the tenant to the landlord. And then short working. What is the short? Lower amount or lower quantity of work carried on by the tenant compared to the minimum rent payable thereon. So, to see how they are effective practically in the study. Okay. And then recovery of short working, and this recovery is of three types called as fixed recovery period, floating charges, and lifetime. Three types of recovery of short working are there. And then accounting of strike and stoppage in the books of account, and then accounting treatment in the books of lessee and lessor. Lessor is the owner, lessee is the tenant for our purpose. And then in the books of both the parties, we are going to learn about journal entries, ledger accounts, including minimum rent account. So, this is the topic: royalty, rent, landlord, tenant, accounting in the books of landlord as well as tenant, including the study of short working and recovery of short working is the subject matter what we are going to study under the title of royalty account. The last chapter prescribed for you is what we call conversion of partnership firm into a limited company. So, initially, the business, once the business is started, that may be succeeded or that may be failed. If it is successful, no doubt we are going to enjoy a lot of benefits. But if it is not succeeded, failed in the initial stage itself, we are going to incur serious losses. So, as a trial and basis, a good person, a person who are having a complete knowledge about the business, they are going to commence the business on trial basis as a sole trader or as a partnership firm. Sole trading, a very small size of business. Partnership firm, a medium size of business. Once if the started small sized or medium sized business is successful, it becomes successful, then it will be converted into a large size business organization. The large size business organizations are technically called as a giant stock companies. So, in this topic, we are going to study how the partnership firms, means the business organizations which are started as a medium size, further after a successful in the field of the partnership firm, if they want to become a company owner, how it is to be, what is the accounting procedure we have to follow at the time of conversion, changing of partnership firm into a limited company, that is giant stock company. So, in this topic, we are going to study the accounting procedure involving in the course of conversion, change of partnership firm into a limited company. So, this syllabus prescribed for you is meaning of conversion, need for conversion, purchase consideration. Here, purchase consideration in the sense purchase price payable by the company to the partnership firm. Even though the partnership firm is converting, if we are going to convert our own partnership firm into a company, the law in the height of law, we have to assume that the partnership firm is to be sold to the company. Partnership firm is sold to the company. Assuming likely, here the purchaser is the company, seller is the partnership firm. So, therefore, here purchase consideration in the sense The purchase price payable by the purchasing company to the vendor partnership firm. Vendor in the sense seller. Okay, next, mode of discharge of purchase consideration. How that a purchase price is to be payable by the purchasing company to the vendor partnership firm. Next, methods of calculation of purchase consideration. Here there are three methods of calculation of purchase consideration, but theoretically there are four methods. Let us see practically how they effective in the studies. So, in the calculation of purchase consideration, the methods are net payment method and net asset method. They are the two methods involve practical calculation. In the remaining two, calculations are not necessary because the amount of purchase consideration is to be given directly in the problem. So, calculation of purchase consideration involves only under two methods called net payment method and net asset method. So after the calculation of journal entries, you have to learn the accounting procedure in the books of both the selling partnership firm and also purchasing the company. What is the accounting procedure we have to learn there? That is journal entries and ledger accounts in the books of vendor and also in the books of the purchaser. Vendor is the seller is the partnership firm, purchaser is the company. So here we are going to learn dissolution expenses, unrecorded assets and liabilities. Assets and liabilities are not taken over by the purchasing company, contingent liabilities, incorporation entries, and preparation of balance sheet in the books of the purchasing company under vertical format. So in the books of the selling partnership firm, we are going to learn journal entries and preparation of ledger. Preparation of balance sheet is not applicable to vendor firm because vendor in the sale, so in the means seller. Once the assets and liabilities are sold by the partnership firm, preparation of balance sheet is not applicable because asset balance sheet itself is the list of assets and liabilities. When there is no assets and liabilities, or when there are no assets and liabilities, how can we prepare the balance sheet? Therefore, preparation of balance sheet is not applicable to the vendor partnership firm. It is because all the assets and liabilities are to be taken over by the company. Therefore, balance sheet is to be prepared in the books of the joint stock company. Okay, and then incorporation means once the partnership firm is taken over by the company, how it is to be taken into at the time of taking the assets and liabilities from the vendor firm called incorporation. What are the entries you have to form? That is the commencing or beginning entries that we call the incorporation entries. So this is the syllabus prescribed by the Bangalore North University for the first semester BCom, and it is the code number is 1.3. Here 1 in the sense, so semester 1, 3 in the sense, that is syllabus number 3 of the subject. Okay, so this is the theoretical background or subject background of your financial accounting related to the first semester. Okay, let us see in the next period. Let us start with one of the best chapter which is easy for you. Okay, thank you.